You've just been handed a project. No training, no guidebook, just, hey, you're managing this now. Good luck. Sounds like a great career opportunity, but it's a little bit daunting because you've never done it before. Well, don't worry. I've helped hundreds of project managers, and I'm here to help you now. Managing a project doesn't have to feel overwhelming. Today, I'll walk you through how to take control and how to deliver your project without losing your mind. So let's dive in by looking firstly at what is a project? Really, a project is just a fancy word for a piece of work that has a beginning, an end, and an output. Keep that in mind. If it doesn't have an end, it's not a project. A project changes something about the world. It may bring something new into existence, or it may enhance something that already exists, or it removes something that's no longer needed. Think about it like this. Planning a party? That's a project. Moving house? That's a project. Launching a new product? That's a project. Speeding up processes at work? That's a project. Transitioning millions of customers' data from one system to another? You got it. It's a project. And project management is the set of skills and processes that help you to break down big scary ideas into manageable steps. My whole YouTube channel explains how to improve your project management skills, so subscribe if you want to learn more. Anyway, I'm about to share a lot with you now, but you can't possibly do everything I'm about to share all at once. So save or bookmark the video so that you can revisit it as you make progress through these steps. Okay, let's get you started with the first vital step of managing a project, and it's one that people sometimes overlook or avoid: getting clarity. You need to find out who owns and who's paying for this project. They may be referred to as the sponsor of your project, but that terminology may be a little bit different from organisation to organisation. Arrange a meeting with them so you can get crystal clear on what success looks like. A lot of people skip this, but trust me, it's the foundation for success. Ask the sponsor, what's the end game? How do we measure success here? How will I know if I've succeeded in this project? Don't be afraid or too intimidated to have the conversation. You're about to become the sponsor's representative in the organisation and making their change, so you need to be 100% clear on their expectations. Next, capture all of those details in writing and ask them to approve it. There are plenty of project management documents out there, like charters, business cases, and so on, that you can use to capture these details in, but even an email exchange where the sponsor says, yep, that's fine, is better than nothing. This minimizes the chances of misunderstandings and gives you some protection if your sponsor ever decides to move the goalpost at some point in the future and change their expectations. If writing that document sounds just a little bit tedious, I've made a video before about how ChatGPT can write it for you, with you just providing some background information. The link's in the description. Next, you need to find out who's interested or impacted by your project. These are called stakeholders, and they're going to be really important to your project, so list them down. In some cases, you may need to list groups of people rather than individuals, where there are just too many to practically identify as individuals. Reach out to the key stakeholders and let them know that you're managing the project and that you'd love their inputs. And you can demonstrate that by showing them your list of stakeholders and asking if you've missed anyone from the list. Next, you need to get planning. Once you know the goal, create a basic plan, and I mean basic. Think 3 questions. What needs to be done? Who's doing it? When does it need to be done by? And you don't need fancy software to start. A Google Doc or Excel is just fine. I've made a bunch of videos on planning with different tools, so I'll share the links to the most useful ones, such as how to use Excel or PowerPoint to create plans, in the description so you can check them out when you're ready. Anyway, I want you to think about plans like roadmaps. They help you to start the journey and they guide you to the end. And just like any journey, you may need to make a few corrections or diversions as you go. That's to be expected in the real world. A moment ago I said that stakeholders would be really important and to tell them that you want their inputs. While writing the plan is one of the best places to get their inputs. Get those key stakeholders involved in the planning process. My recommendation is that you share your work so far and ask them what's missing and if there's anything that's not right about the plan. After you've collated everyone's feedback into your plan in a way that makes sense, sequence them in order and identify which tasks are dependent on other tasks and outputs. You'll find a lot of things on the plan just can't be done without something else being done first. If possible, get your stakeholders together in a meeting and present the plan for feedback and final updates before you share it with your sponsor for approval. Whilst you're doing that exercise, you and the stakeholders should be encouraged to note anything realistic that may threaten the success of the project. Keep a log of these threats, because we're going to be looking at them a little bit closer later on. Oh, by the way, tracking threats isn't a negative thing to do, and it doesn't mean you're trying to undermine the project. It's prudent and will make your project more likely to succeed. Next, we get into delivery, execution, build, or however else you like to call the real work of turning your project plan into a tangible change. But first, I have something to share that may help you. So you watch my videos because you want to get better at managing projects, right? Well, here's something you may not know. I actually help organizations to do this for real. With almost 20 years of experience, I've worked across multiple industries, fixing PMOs, improving governance, and coaching teams to deliver actual results and not just good intentions. But would I work well with your team? Well, you've been watching me, and this, what you see right now, that's exactly who I am when I'm working with teams. My videos are your pre-screen, so if your organization could use a little help, pass my details on to your leadership. The link's in the description. Let's make things better, and I promise not to baffle your leadership with project jargon. Well, not too much. So now we get started on delivery, and this is where the magic happens, or at least where the hard work really kicks in. Delivery is all about turning your plan into real-world outcomes. There are so many different types of projects, I could never cover all of the possibilities. But if you're creating an app, this is where the coding happens. If you're building a skyscraper, this is where construction begins. If you're launching a product, this is where you ramp up production and prepare for the big reveal. Whether you're managing a team or flying solo, execution is where your project starts taking shape. The foundation of a smooth delivery is balance between sticking to the plan, which acts as a to-do list for the project, and knowing when to adapt it. Your project roadmap, timelines, and objectives are there to guide you, but delivery rarely goes 100% as expected. Keep an eye on the end goal, but stay flexible enough to course correct when changes arise. For those leading a team, a successful delivery will be dependent on your ability to delegate, communicate, and coordinate. Make sure that everyone knows their role and what's expected and when. Check in regularly, but not to micromanage, but just to keep everyone aligned and resolve blockers before they grow. And if you're working alone, well, communication still matters, it's just in a different way. Regular updates to your sponsor or stakeholders are critical. Even if you're both planner and executor, keeping others in the loop builds trust and helps you to secure the support that you might need later on in the project. There's a little bit more on communication and reporting later on, so stay with me. Tracking progress is key to staying on course. Use whatever tools work best in your project, such as task trackers, Gantt charts, or dashboards. At the heart of this though, just make sure you're keeping an eye on what's done and what's still outstanding. If you're leading a team, hold everyone accountable, including yourself. And if you're working solo, those check-ins with stakeholders can double as a way to stay accountable. Now, remember those threats I mentioned earlier that I recommended you put into a log? Professional project managers categorize them in two ways. If they pose an element of uncertainty, then they're called risks. If they're absolutely certain or have already happened, they're called issues. And yes, I have made a detailed video on them where I compare the threat of falling down some stairs with a risk and an issue where I've actually fallen down the stairs. I spent a lot of time at the bottom of the stairs on that one, so you can find the link to that in the description. Risks have a way of sneaking up during delivery, so stay one step ahead. Whether you're managing a large team or just yourself, keep a running list of all the potential threats and don't wait for them to happen before you tackle them. Small risks can snowball fast, so be proactive and identify and implement actions that you can take to avoid or reduce the risk. Make risk reviews with your team and stakeholders part of your regular routine. Regarding issues, the threats that are absolutely certain or have already happened, well, problems don't magically fix themselves. So as soon as you spot one, whether it's a missed deadline or a team member struggling, address it. Early action from you will save bigger headaches later on. And yes, this might mean having some awkward conversations, but trust me, future you will thank you. Delivery can be challenging, so don't forget to celebrate the small victories along the way. Have you achieved a significant milestone? Give yourself or your team a pat on the back. Acknowledging progress keeps morale up and momentum going. Throughout the project, keep a record of useful lessons that you're learning along the way. It could be the things that went well, or the things that didn't go so well. This can help you to retain those lessons later on, but will also be really helpful to other project managers in the future. We've touched on communication already, but when reporting your progress and opening yourself to scrutiny to some of the most important people in your organization, it helps if you structure that communication properly. And that brings us on to project reporting, and meetings. When it comes to formal project meetings, talk to your sponsor about how frequently they would like to meet with you and some of the key stakeholders to discuss the project. Ideally, you need something, I'd say monthly as a minimum. Get dates into calendars as early as possible, as your sponsor is likely to be very busy and will be very difficult to get last minute. Invite only the people who truly need to be there, key decision makers and stakeholders who can contribute or approve next steps. Start with a clear agenda, stick to it, and use language that they all understand. Skip the jargon and frame updates in terms that they value, like progress percentages or clear impacts. Got bad news? Be upfront but solutions focused, such as, we've hit a delay due to X, but here's how we're addressing it. That beats vague excuses any day. Wrap up the meeting with a recap of decisions and next steps, and make sure you share the minutes or notes as soon as possible. Clarity, confidence, and the right attendees will leave everyone feeling like the project is in good hands, even if you are quietly sweating through your shirt. Between those key meetings, your regularly scheduled project status reports are essential for keeping your stakeholders in the loop. The reports are like snapshots of how the project's progressing at that point in time, giving everyone a clear picture of where things stand. Keep them consistent, same format, same schedule, so stakeholders know exactly what to expect when they receive them. Focus on progress, threats, upcoming milestones, and decisions or support that you need. When done well, a great status report can reduce the need for endless meetings and keep everyone aligned with minimal effort. And you'll be stunned to know that I've already made a series of videos about how to create and populate your status reports. The link's in the description. Obviously, depending on your project, you're likely to have a range of other meetings or comms that you'll have to contend with. Maintain a professional approach, always be clear, especially with yourself, about what outcome you want from those meetings and communications. Too many people do them on autopilot, and that's where they run into trouble. Later on this year, I'm planning on making a bunch of new videos about meetings and comms, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss them. Okay, so you finished building the project outputs. Now don't forget to close things out properly. That doesn't mean just walking away as soon as you finish building. At some point, you'll need to switch from the old way of doing things to the new. Your new process will have to replace the existing one. Your product will have to be launched. Your skyscraper is going to need its grand opening. This is the moment of go live. Before switching over to your project's outputs, always make sure to hold a meeting with the sponsor and whoever's going to own the project outputs in the future. Use your project documentation and explain to them why they can feel assured that your changes are safe to go live and are going to deliver the desired results. Depending on the nature of the change, you may have to provide test results to demonstrate that you've met the quality criteria required before they can switch to your outputs. Okay, listen carefully, because I just don't want you to misunderstand this. You have a lot of power as a project manager, but you don't get to go live without your organization's leader's formal approval. Afterwards, make sure to arrange a formal handover to whoever's going to own the project outputs. This includes the documentation on how your outputs work, useful records such as supplier details, and anything else they need to use your outputs in the future. Collate your lessons learned, celebrate what went well, learn from what didn't, and share those lessons with the team. Wrapping up isn't just about ticking boxes, it's about getting better for the next project. Finally, write up a brief report explaining what the project was intended to do at the beginning and how it went in reality. And yes, I know, you're sick of hearing me say it. Of course I have a video about that, which is also linked in the description. Sorry. And there you have it, how to manage a project without losing too much sleep. Start with a clear goal, make a simple plan, communicate, handle problems early, and wrap it up right. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just need to keep things moving forwards. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, hit the like button or share it with someone who just got voluntold to manage a project. You've got this.